You for inviting me. It's great to be with you tonight, and thank you for asking everyone to put their video on too, because it's great to see your faces and to be able to see if you're hearing me okay and everything else. What I'd like to do tonight, so I have 30 minutes or so where I'm gonna share my story with you. Many of you may not even know who we are. Hopefully, hopefully it's a new story for you. I know that during the time I've been doing Nu Skin, I love hearing about the success of people and what they went through to get to where they got and all of that. So I've got many different pictures that I'm going to share, and I'm just going to go through rapid fire some of these pictures. But this is myself and my wife Cheryl. This is right here where we first met. We met in Hawaii when she was 17 and I was 20. That was in 1984, before many of you were born, I know. We're old. I'm 57 and she's 54, but we're Nu Skin old, so we're young old, right? And that was that was a long time ago. We've been married 35 years now. This was more recent on the trip to South Africa. These are our kids. We have 5 kids. 4 of them are married, and some of the grandkids. We now have this past year we had 2 more new ones, so we have 9 grandkids, which are just a blast. For any of you who have kids, they're wonderful, but grandkids are 10 times better. You get all the joy with none of the terrible stuff. So we're enjoying that. Let me tell you about my story. So this goes back 18 years ago. You can see the date on it, August 23rd, 2002. I had been working in the computer software industry for 15 years. I have a master's degree in information technology and accounting. And I had worked in this industry for 15 years. I was working as a vice president over Latin America and the Western United States for a British software company. And things were not doing too well in the industry. The tech, some of you may know, have heard about the bubble burst and what happened with high tech. I was part of that. We our numbers were going down as an industry. Our numbers were going down for several years, and if you did better than the industry average, you were doing okay. And it just got to a point where they decided to pull out of Latin America and disband the division that I was in charge of, and ciao. They gave me a 45-day severance, and it was actually one of the low points in my life at that time up until then, because I'd never been through that before. I felt like I'd let my family down, and I had a sick feeling inside. And some of you may be able to relate to that, whether it's with something like this or something else. That's how I felt. And it was interesting because I had a situation that most of you probably didn't have. I had 2 multi-millionaire Nu Skin distributors living in my neighborhood where I live. I lived in Mapleton, Utah for 25 years. 15 miles away from the corporate headquarters, we had 2 multimillionaires. One is Jeff Mack, who some of you probably know his name. And the other family, their last name is Sharanian. I'm sure that none of you know their name, which says something about Nu Skin. I think they've made about $10 million and no one knows who they are. So it was interesting that one of them 18 years ago talked to me, Jeff Mack talked to me, and it was right before, 6 months before the launch of the biophotonic scanner. And he said, "Hey, we've got this thing that's happening, and you should take a look at what's going on." And so I went to a luncheon with him. It was at the Marriott Hotel in Provo, Utah, right before a worldwide convention, a 2002 worldwide convention. And the person giving the presentation that day was Nathan Ricks. And so I'm sure most of you heard of Nathan Ricks, right? And he was on the way there. Jeff was telling me, "Hey, I got to prep you for this. This guy's not normal. He only sleeps 4 hours a night. He's just not normal." He didn't want me to get scared away by Nathan. So I went to the presentation. After seeing the presentation, I was pretty sure that this company was going to grow, that this nutritional lie detector was going to really take hold in the marketplace. And so it wasn't immediate. We actually went to the convention as guests. I went, and it's a longer story, but I ended up going using Jeff's wife's uh, pass, you know, her badge. It said Liz Mack on it. It said team lead, whatever, $1 million earner and everything. And so people who saw me walking in there as Liz Mack, you know, they were probably laughing at who is this guy? And I went in and saw it, and I just saw a difference in the environment of what I'd been in for the past several years of negative, negative, negative to positive, 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 and just the forecast of the vision. You know, we used the word vision of what was going to happen here. So after that, I decided to get involved, and it was a bit of a bumpy road for me. I've told this story a bunch of times because it's kind of compelling. You know, that I talked to 42 people that told me no, they didn't want anything to do with an out of work software executive that was now peddling vitamins, which is what I was doing. You know, hey, antioxidants, vitamins, life pack. What are you talking about, man? You were a vice president of a software company. Now you're talking to me about vitamins, you know? And so it was pretty discouraging. Many of you may have that thing, that same similar thing, you know, where you go out there and start talking to people. It's all, most of it's virtual now, right? And we're sending messages, we're talking to people, and no, 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 you know, and you think, well, when am I going to get a yes? And that's where I was until this guy right here, his name's Arthur, who had gone to school with in Hawaii 20 years earlier. That picture you saw of me and Cheryl was when we met Arthur in Hawaii, and he was a full Chinese, but born and raised in the Philippines. So he had a totally weird accent. He didn't really speak Chinese. He spoke Filipino, and but he was, I compared him to the Tasmanian devil. I'd gone the corporate route and did that for 15 years, and he did his own thing. He was an independent businessman, you know, working and had a chocolate factory and all kinds of stuff. And so I thought he'd be interested in it, and he was. And so I could go on and on about some of these stories that you remember, you know, when you first started in the business. But I remember to this day so much of how that impacted my life working directly with Arthur. I decided to fly over to Hawaii because Arthur said, okay, yeah, I want to do this. He told me about the patent for the scanner. I didn't even know the scanner had a patent. He said he had gone to the patent website for the US government and found the patents. And so I flew over to Hawaii, and we met this guy right here. His name's Jesse Rivera. He's a Hawaiian fireman, cowboy country western singer. You know, you can't make this stuff up, right? I mean, who would have thought? I was talking to CEOs and COOs about optimizing. Sorry, I do a lot of my work now in Spanish, so I forget some words every now and then. But optimizing their business processes, and you know, a couple months later, I'm talking to Arthur and this Hawaiian firefighter country western singer. You know, and the three of us are on Oahu saying we're gonna take over this island. We're going to, you know, bring new skin to the island. And there were already some new skin people in Hawaii, but they weren't really doing much with the scanner and the launch of this. So that was the three of us, and we went from 3 to 15 to 50 pretty quick within a month. This was our system. You always have to have a system, right? So as we go through this, I'm going to kind of try to teach you some key points and key principles. You got to have a system, you know, that can be duplicated. And this was our system. It was a VHS tape. I tell people who don't know what VHS is now, I say it's like manual YouTube, right? You had to put something in a VCR, and that's what we had. And then we had a pen and a paper, and this is how it was taught: draw out the compensation plan. And that's what we would do. And we would just sit down with people, watch that. It was very compelling. And then we would draw out the compensation plan, and we had a duplication model to go with that. I think it was called the Power of One or something like that. And we would just run with it. And that's what we did all day long. We would get in a car, we'd go meet with people, just impromptu, meet with them, and start talking to them. And we were able to go from the three of us to 15 in that 1 week. Now it was pretty hairy at the end because it was Halloween night, where I had taken a red eye back and just crazy stuff. But we finished the qualification, got to executive, and then the next month we grew it from 15 to 50, and then from there we still have teams in Hawaii that are still working the business today. These are some of the early pictures. This is Arthur and I. If none of you have seen this, that is a prototype of the first biophotonic scanner right there. So that's, you may have seen Scanner 1. That's a prototype of Scanner 1 because the colors were different for the actual scanners. That was Justin Rose. He was over there with he came over to do the scanning for us because we weren't allowed to touch the scanner. It was kind of a joke. You were supposed to be able to keep that scanner between 70 and 78 degrees or something like that for it to have accurate scans. And we were at the Honolulu Marathon outside. It was like 80 something, you know, the scans were not even accurate. We were just doing it, whatever it took, you know. So here we rented out some hotels. This is like 5 weeks into the business. Rented out some hotels. There's Jeff Mack. We knew he was coming. We wanted to have a lot of people there. And we were just slaying it, just inviting, getting people there and presenting. Now, this is the same thing we do today. It may be that it looks like a bunch of squares on a screen in a Zoom conference room, right? But this is the same thing we do today, is sharing the information. Here's one of the actual first scanners we were able to get, not from us, but from our upline. We were able to get one of the first 28 or whatever scanners that were given out at that first conference. I don't know if any of you are into, this is Ronnie Coleman. He was Mr. Universe. We were at a thing with my cousin in Florida. I mean, look how white and small I look. This guy was huge. Okay, his thighs were bigger than my waist, you know. So he's really a famous guy, Ronnie Coleman. This is some of our group in the Midwest. And then we started going down south. We had an opportunity, because I spoke the language and knew the cultures. We had an opportunity to participate in the opening of Venezuela, which was the first South American country. There was Mexico. There were some Central American countries that were open, but nothing in South America. And we knew Venezuela would be one of the first ones. And we had adventures. This is a rainstorm where, you know, we thought the taxi was going to float away. Here's Rudy, one of our, he became a team lead, 2-star platinum, and he's teaching a Ruby plan before the market even opened. This is the opening day of the market. This is over in Colombia with some of our people in Colombia and some of the other people from OTG, having fun, dancing, and we did a tour with Nathan Ricks around Colombia. So these are some of the things we did throughout Latin America. Now, this is my wife, Cheryl. So you're right, Lisa. You pronounced it several different ways, so you had to be right one of the times, right? So her name, it looks weird, but her name is pronounced just like Cheryl, just normal. Okay, so anyway, she really started doing the business with me about 5 years ago, because we have 5 kids and they were all going through high school and all their stuff. And when our youngest went to college, then Cheryl said, okay, I'll start doing the business. Now, any of you that do the business with a spouse, I don't know if it's the same for everyone, but for us, it's not easy. You know, we're different, you know, and we do it differently. And I have these great ideas that I think will work great for her, you know, and she doesn't want to hear my great ideas that I think will work great for her. And it's fun to do the business together. We have a wonderful time, and we're still learning the best way actually to do it together. But she jumped on and started working with the social media, and she's really good at it. And she fits her personality. And honestly, she and I, we're still, as you know, it changes, right? You can't still be doing the stuff you were doing 5 years ago. Everything changes. But you know, it's just sharing the message. It's just getting attention and sharing the message, just as we did before. So here's some of the, you know, events that we had with some of the teams from the United States and traveling around. There's a little bit from the South Africa. I love this picture with Cheryl with 2 baby tigers from when we were in South Africa. Some of the team there. We had an opportunity after the South Africa trip. We decided we're not going to travel so far just to stay for 5 nights or whatever it was. So we ended up going down to the south coast of South Africa and drove the whole southern coast. It's called the Garden Route, I think. And we stayed the first night in this area, Jeffreys Bay. And so happened that Nathan Ricks and his wife were staying in Jeffreys Bay that night too. We had not planned it together or anything. And we just said, hey, this was our Airbnb right in front of this incredibly famous surfing location that I had been reading about since I was a little kid. And so we were at Jeffreys Bay, and they were too. We would just walk down the beach at a certain time. We said, okay, yeah, we'll see you on the beach. And we just walked with those guys for an hour or so. Great thing, right? I mean, Nathan Ricks, one of the top guys in the world of network marketing, and our upline, my upline. So we were able to to spend some time with Nathan. This is the southernmost part of South Africa. Just some beautiful memories that we had on this trip. Now, here's some of our trips down to South America and some of our key leaders. One of the points I want to tell you here is pay the price. These are some of the people, there are very few people that at the time would pay the price, sacrifice, to come all the way from Colombia, for example, to Provo to attend leadership conference or to attend a convention or to attend, just a training that we might do. But the ones who did, we rewarded them and got them in front of Jeff Mack and got them in front of other people and showed them a good time. And these guys now, so this is one of Jeff's places, and they're talking with Jeff. And for them, for me, I knew Jeff for a long time, and it's Jeff, he's a friend. But for these guys, they're coming all the way from Colombia. It's just like, wow, Jeff Mack, and it made their whole month and year. But what happened is each one of these people, I think when they came here, they were executive, lapis, and diamond or something. And now Ivan, the guy, and his wife are team elite. Lena is a diamond, and Tatiana is, I think, emerald. And it just shows you pay the price, and you work it, and you're going to see success, especially now with what's going on in the business. So we had an opportunity to do that. We traveled up. If any of you been to Provo, the Y Mountain. We traveled up the Y, and some people gave up. The ones who made it to the top, guess what? They're still doing very well in the new skin business, and they're growing the new skin business as well. It's an analogy that's very important there. Now, I want to tell you now what's happened in the past couple of years, because this was our house that we lived in. We built this house in 1994, I think. And when our kids were just young, I think our kids were from newborn to 7 or 8 years old, something like that. And built that home. It was on a half acre in Mapleton, Utah. And we just loved it. And we thought we'd be there forever because, it just comfortable, and the kids would come back with their kids and things like that. And then I had this thought 2.5 years ago, or just before Thanksgiving, 2 years ago. And I said, you know what? We're sitting here in this house, just you and I, and the kids come on Sundays and stuff. We have this business. We have a business in South America. We have a market that's going to open. How many times does Nu Skin open markets? It's not like a yearly thing, right? So we said, why don't we sell the house and move to South America? I said that. And Cheryl's like, and for me, it's no big deal. I speak Spanish, and I've traveled around South America and everything. Cheryl had only been to South America once in her life, when she went to Argentina with me one time 20 years ago. She didn't speak the language, didn't know anything about it. But she was like, she thought about it, and we prayed about it. And within a day, we made the decision to do that, to sell this house that we had for 25 years. I put up here nomads because that's what we are now. We don't have a house, and we love it. I mean, we don't have kids in our house, right? We have 5 adult kids. We have 9 grandkids. They have their houses. They have their families. And we get to go wherever we want. So we decided we're going to go to Colombia and go to Peru and participate in the opening of the market in Peru. Not just go there for a couple of weeks, but go there and be able to stay there for months at a time and do whatever we want. And so we did that for the past couple of years until COVID hit, March of last year. And Cheryl had been back in the United States visiting the family she was going to stay for a couple of weeks. And then COVID hit, and she got locked out. They closed the borders in Peru, and I was down in Peru, and she was here, and we had to figure out some stuff. I stayed there for an extra 6 weeks or so, and then made it back. And so we've been back here in the United States for the past, I've been back here for about the past 10 or 11 months, and her for a little longer. And we're like itching to leave, itching to be nomads, get back out. We rented a little townhome here for the past 9 months. Right now we're staying with my dad because he's getting a little older, and my mother passed away a few years ago. And so, we'll stay here for a few weeks, and then we're out of here. We're actually on March 10th leaving to go to Punta Cana. And it's interesting because Nu Skin's not open in Dominican Republic. But we were looking at Punta Cana because we qualified for the Punta Cana trip. And we're like, hey, yeah, we want to go there. New Skin pushed it back to August, but we still want to go. So we go, okay, let's go. So we rented a place right on the beach for a month, and we're going to go there from March to April, and we're going to work the business just like we are right here. You know, even if we're not open in the Dominican Republic, we can still work the business, just, you know, full on, not even like, you know, vacation mode. No, we just have a better view. We want to go to the beach, we go to the beach, you know, but we're working the business. And so that's what we did. And it's been amazing. We love it. We have no regrets. We don't want the house back. We don't want any house back. It's just an anchor, and we don't want that. And so we, I mean, really, where can you have a business that it doesn't matter where you live? You don't have to report to anyone. You don't have to, you just go wherever you want to go. And as long as you can get access to the interwebs, you can work your business. And so here's just some of the, you know, some of the experience over the past couple years. This is a success summit, a cumbre, they call it the success summit in Colombia, in Bogota, Colombia. There's Cheryl. You see someone's translating for her, but she's really been practicing her Spanish. She did amazing, and she's doing amazing. She still listens to, you know, different shows and things like that in Spanish. And that's part of the reason we're going to Dominican Republic, to keep her fresh on her Spanish. This is the crowd she was speaking to, about 900 people. And this is, you know, I mean, she's getting up there in a different language, you know, and she hasn't been totally used to this. I've done a lot more of this than her, and I'm super proud of what she's done. This is the Bogota airport, you know, just flying from Bogota down. Actually, we went from Bogota up to a little island. Most of you probably never heard of it. It's called San Andres. It's off the coast of Nicaragua. It's a Colombian island. It's in the middle of the Caribbean Ocean. It's amazing. This is our place that we rented for a week, just right off the ocean, in front of the ocean. Here's some of the meetings we were doing down there. Looks the same as it did 18 years ago when I started, right? Or it could be, you know, what people are doing on Zoom right now. It's just people listening to information. And we need to be sharing a simple story with people on a daily basis to grow our businesses. Here's Cheryl doing some arm demos. We don't have this in the United States. I know you have it in Canada. There's a lot of women in our Latin American country and our Latin American group that have one arm that's less baggy than the other arm. And Cheryl got to the point where she could do demos and see a difference within 10 minutes, and people were just shocked. This is the Experience Center in Lima, Peru, where she's at. And that was our apartment where we lived for about 5 months, right on the ocean in Peru. Amazing. You know, we love it. We love traveling, and we're ready to get back at it. Now, got about 8 minutes left, and I just have, you know, a list of things that I've learned over the 18 years, and things that hopefully can help you. You know, it's been amazing. Let me just tell you, it's been amazing. I'm so grateful that someone fired me from my corporate job so that Jeff Mack could talk to me and I would listen. I think Jeff Mack talked to me a few years earlier, but I was too busy. I didn't listen. I wasn't ready. I wasn't at 12 o'clock, right? I wasn't going to listen at that time, and no one was really going to talk to me, you know, because I was just flying all over the place, gone about 80% of the time. Someone fired me after 15 years, and Jeff talked to me, and that changed our whole world forever. You know, here's some of the things we learned. Super important. I know you hear this, but you got to know your why. Why? Because it's not easy. I don't care how you're doing the business, social media, person to person. There's no wrong way to do it, frankly, as long as you're using a system that you can duplicate. There's no wrong way, but every way is hard. Okay. No one, I know Lisa and Paul have been super successful in the business, and I'm sure others on here have as well. No one gets to that point in the business without paying a price and without going through hard times, like hard times that make you question, should I be doing this? Hard times, you know? So if your why is not super strong, then, you know, you may not make it. So you got to make sure you know why you're doing this, and that why is super strong. Okay. You can never give up on your dream. You know, right now what's going on with New Skin is crazy, right? New Skin's in total growth mode. And we long for these types of windows. You know, doing it 18 years, I've seen when New Skin was in growth mode and when New Skin was in a little down or just stable mode. It's not nearly as fun to do it when it's in stable mode. It's very, very hard and not fun. Okay, now it's fun. It's not easy. You still got to work like crazy, right? But don't give up on your dream. Know what your dream is and don't give up on it. You got to keep a positive attitude. And if there's people who are negative, don't hang out with them. I'm not going to say get rid of family members or anything like that, but just don't hang out with people who aren't positive. You know, I listened to something the other day, and I'll share this with you. I listened to this conference, and there was a few people, very famous people talking, and one guy gave this example. He said, if I were to tell you that if we went down to, let's say we're in Los Angeles, went to Dodger Stadium, and they're going to have one of their best pitchers pitching the ball, but if you can hit that ball out of the park, okay, just a home run, they will give you $5 million. And they said, okay, how many people do you think would line up to do that? And they said, well, you know, thousands of people would line up to do that. And they said, how many people do you think would get back in line to do that again? You know, and they said, well, some would do that. And they said, who are the people that would line up again and again and again and again until you knock it out and you get the $5 million? Those are the people who are successful in Nu Skin, right? You know what your dream is, you keep a positive attitude, and you just keep going. Okay, this is something that's been super beneficial for us. This has been the difference for us, is knowing how and when to position in front of growth. Now, this growth can be just organic growth, like what's happening in the United States right now, in Canada and in the Americas region. It can be a certain product launch and position for a product launch, like we did in the beginning with the scanner, or we've done with many times with different product launches. It can be the opening of a country, like what we did for Peru, you know, positioning ourselves to participate in the growth of Peru. It can be any kind of growth, but most of the money that we've made in the business, and money gives you options and money gives you freedom. And most of the money that we've made in this business has come from positioning. So long-term money comes from positioning in front of growth, because that's where you're going to duplicate. That's where you're going to find the people who are willing to pay the price and do everything it takes. And that's your long-term income. And so you have to position. Lucky for all of us, we're in a growth mode right now. Okay. So position, right? Position, build your team, recruit, build your team, duplicate. Okay. Maintain your focus and be consistent no matter what. And you have to measure results. It's all about measuring results. So Cheryl and I do the business different ways right now. I'm totally focused on the Latin market. I spend all day in Spanish, contacting people, doing presentations, doing trainings, everything in Spanish. Cheryl is total US. Even when we're outside the US, she's all English social media stuff. Okay, so we do it differently. But every Sunday we meet to say, okay, these were our goals for the week. Here's our results. How'd we do? Right? They have to be measurable results. And that only happens with focus and consistency, discipline. Okay. Talked a little bit about this already, but you have to sacrifice. You have to pay the price, but the sacrifice is only short term. You know, a lot of the upline that were in my upline when I came in the business, frankly, aren't doing anything now. And some of you may have that situation too. It's okay. They've earned that right, you know, to do nothing or do a little. That's okay. But my point is they had to, at some point, they had to sacrifice for the short term in order to have what they want for the long term. But no, the sacrifice doesn't have to be forever. It has to be for a short term. Okay. Now, what I explained, you can work the business from anywhere in the world. If you have a connection, more so than ever before. Okay. Before, if I wanted to participate in Peru, I really had to go to Peru. Okay. Before, if I wanted to participate in Venezuela, I really had to go to Venezuela. Okay. Same thing with Colombia, Argentina, Chile, anywhere. Okay. In Asia, wherever. Okay. But now it's not the case. So take advantage of that, right? Take advantage of that. How many squares can you have on your screen on a daily basis? That's the question, right? How many Zoom squares can you have on you? How many people are you impacting and then duplicating where they're doing that same thing? It's unlimited, like never before. Now, this is the business. I always remember Nathan Rick saying, your mouth's open, your business is open. Your mouth is closed, your business is closed. Now, mouth now may be typing into your keyboard or typing on your phone or whatever, right? But it's still the same thing. It's still talking, it's still communicating. And so this is what I always said in Spanish as I trained the people in Colombia and in Peru and Latin America, where I would say hablar, hablar, hablar. And they would make fun of me because I speak English, I speak Spanish well, but I have an accent, right? I have a gringo accent. So they make fun of the way I say hablar, 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 hablar más. But it's talk, 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 or communicate, 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 and communicate more. That's the deal, you know. We are, I learned two things, and I'll finish with this. Jeff Mack taught me two things that he learned from Craig Tillotson. Okay, so if you know Craig Tillotson, Clara, Craig, and Craig were the three founding distributors for the company. And Craig Tillotson trained Jeff Mack, and he said, you know, you gotta do two things. Okay, you gotta share a simple message with as many people as possible on a daily basis. Okay, so you have to, the way to do, I can only share a message with so many people on a daily basis, but if I have a team of Zoom squares on my screen, you know, we can all go then and duplicate that and share that simple message. The key word there is simple, right? Simple and as many times as possible, because many times we complicate the message. It doesn't have to be a complicated message. It has to be a simple message. And then the second thing is, you have it. He used to say 60 to 90 days. I think it's less now. I think it's like 30 days or less. You have a matter of days to show someone some sort of success before they're gone. Okay, so you got to share that simple message on a regular basis, and then you gotta help them see some success, whether that's just selling some products on social media or signing up their first affiliate, you know, that buys their kit, or showing them how in the United States to do their 1,000 points and get their free facial spa, you know, and how to get to a brand representative, whether it's in Canada with 2,000 points or United States with 5,000 points or 6,000 points, you know, show them success right away. And then you start working in the depth and find the lockers, find the people who are really willing to do the short-term sacrifice for the long-term gain. But those two things, share a simple message and show the people who sign up, show them success as soon as possible. If you do that, see, the principles of the business haven't changed, which is amazing, right? The whole technology and everything changes. It's upgraded, really. I mean, we can be a lot more efficient now than in the past, but the principles don't change. The principles are the principles. And if you learn how to do that, you know, have a system, put numbers through the system, duplicate, you know, you'll find your freedom. That's what we're all after, and that's how you do it. So that's my story. I'm going to stop sharing now and turn it back to you, Lisa. And thank you for inviting me tonight.
Thank you so much, Leif.